All right, let's talk Oregon Ducks. This Oregon squad is obviously one of the top contenders in the entire country, not just for the Big Ten, of course, but to win the national championship, make a deep postseason run, everything that goes with it. There are questions about what the future of the quarterback position is going to look like, but when you look into some recent data that we put together, this Oregon Ducks team is even better than people think, even when compared against the best in college football. And we'll get to all that in just one second. But first, I'm Nick, and this is Saturday Morning Inspection. All right, so Oregon obviously undefeated through the regular season, won the Big Ten title, disappointing Rose Bowl appearance. There's been some rumors and some jabbering going on right now. Former Oregon receiver Tez Johnson is excited for some revenge against Ohio State. I can't blame him. I guarantee you Oregon is pumped up for a potential retaliation game against Ohio State and to right the wrongs of 2024. But speaking about the future in the upcoming 2025 season, one of the things that's been lurking under the radar that a lot of people, especially in the media, aren't focusing on is how just incredibly talented across the board Oregon is. When it comes to all the rosters in college football, and there's a lot of top contenders. Of course, Texas usually takes the cake. Georgia's mentioned a lot. Ohio State's mentioned. You'll get a Notre Dame reference every now and then. You'll get an Alabama call out. People talking about Michigan resurgence, USC resurgence, right? Penn State looking really good. All of these programs, Miami Hurricanes kind of lurking, maybe potentially Clemson's even thrown around every once in a while. There's a lot of big names right now, and obviously Oregon isn't the shiny new toy. They were the number one seed, best team in football the vast majority of the 2024 season. And look, that happens. You're not the shiny new thing anymore. People move on. But when you look at the actual data, this Ducks team is better than any of the top contenders. So what we did is we dove through the recruiting rankings for the past 3 cycles, so 24 and 25 cycles that are done, and the 26 cycle that's ongoing, and we looked at the percentage of those classes for each of the top 4 schools. We looked at Oregon, we looked at Texas, we looked at Ohio State, and looked at Georgia. I think the 4 best schools in the country right now, the 4 schools that have proven it the most on the field over the past couple seasons, and honestly, my opinion here, I think a lot of you agree as well, the top 4 contenders for a national championship team in 2025. But we looked at all 4 of those schools and we said, what percentage of each of your classes are 4 and 5-star recruits, right? Forget recruiting rankings, forget what the media says about who's got the best class. Let's just look at it, just simple data, unbiased, and look at what programs get the best of each class and get the most of the best, right? It's one thing to have a couple 5 stars. How deep is your class? And that's what we pulled up here. And let's pull up our first chart here to kind of highlight exactly what I'm talking about. So you can see we've got, working left to right, we got the 2024 class, we got the 2025 class, and the 2026 class. All the way on the right, we've got Ohio State in blue. We got Texas in red. We got Georgia in gold. Now that I look at it, I probably should have switched Texas and Georgia's colors, but we are where we are. And then we've got Oregon, of course, in green. And again, this is the percentage of your commits or your signees, if we look at the 24 and 25 class, that are 4 or 5-star guys. And you can see in 2024, right? So this would have been the class that would have affected the most last season. Oregon was second, just ahead of Ohio State, just ahead of Georgia, slightly behind Texas. All of those schools, right around 80 to 85% of their class was 4 or 5 stars. That's incredibly good, right? These are the best of the best. These are tough numbers. Let's jump ahead to 2025. Look at Oregon's percentage, right? Number 1, massive leap forward, leapfrogging Texas by big numbers, well ahead of Ohio State, dominating the Big Ten here, folks. Georgia had a really good class as well, but they're not nearly as good as Oregon. Their 25 class was in terms of percentage of class as 4 or 5-star recruits. Again, we're talking deep, talented rosters, not a few headline grabbers. We're talking deep, talented rosters, 4 and 5-star guys across the board. Oregon better than everybody there, and you can see it's repeating itself for the ongoing 2026 class. All the way on the right side there, the far right, you can see Oregon, once again, the green, well above Georgia this time. Georgia's still second. Texas and Ohio State bringing up the rear. You can see Oregon asserting Big Ten dominance. It was a battle in 2024. You can see Ohio State, Oregon neck and neck. 2025, Oregon well above Ohio State. 26, Oregon well above Ohio State. So we're seeing a clear top contender emerge in the Big Ten. Again, percentage of your class that is 4 or 5 stars. To me, this is one of these underrated statistics. It's one thing to get a big headline guy. It's another thing you can get a big class, right? If you sign 35 people, listen, you're gonna have a really good class. If you sign like 10 people and it's a really small class, but you get 1 or 2 5-stars, you're gonna have a really good average score, right? Just the way the numbers work out. But how much of your class are good star players, right? Not that 2 and 3 stars can't become good players, and not that 5 stars sometimes bust out. But generally speaking, as a rule, the team that has the most 4 and 5-star players wins and wins national titles. Alabama under Nick Saban absolutely proved that. The teams he only lost to, like Kirby Smart's Georgia and the Dabo Swinney's Clemson's teams, And that Joe Burrow LSU team, for example, had a lot of 4 or 5 star players where they could overcome Alabama's just overall talent. Offense, defense, all levels of the game, 4 and 5 stars. The higher percentage of your class that you have those, you're going to win games. You are going to win playoff games. You're going to be the best team in the country. And we've seen over the past 3 cycles, 24, 25, 26, Oregon absolutely crush it in this regard with the statistic. This is one of the things that, again, isn't talked about enough, but I think it's critically important. We looked at who has the best recruiting class, who gets the number 1 guy in the country, who gets the number 2 guy in the country, who gets the best quarterback. And not that that doesn't matter, but to me, if you're vying for national championships, if you're vying to win the whole darn thing, you got to have a complete roster laced with talent. 4 and 5 star quantity as a percentage of your class is more important than anything. And in this statistic, as you guys can see, Oregon is dominating. All right, we got a few things to break down here, but before we get into more analysis, first, Oregon fans in the comment section below, look, the season is getting closer and closer. Football right around the corner. So let me ask you this. What's one game you're looking forward to this season more than any other? Is it a game maybe you're attending, or is it a rivalry game, or just a game that means a lot to you? You've had it circled on the calendar. Let us know in the comment section below what game you're looking forward to more than any other. You ask a lot of Oregon players who are talking about going to Penn State with that whiteout environment. That's going to be crazy. Maybe that's on your list. Maybe it's a different matchup. Give us the game you're most looking forward to and put it in the comment section below. But it goes back to Oregon, and I'm talking about being underrated. You're seeing this in terms of the odds to win the national championship. So let me pull up my chart here to highlight what I'm talking about. So these are the teams with the best odds to win the national title. You can see at the top of the list, you got Ohio State and Texas tied for first. Penn State right behind him. Then you got Georgia, Clemson that I mentioned before, Notre Dame, Alabama, and then is Oregon, right? And this is really bizarre to me, folks. This doesn't make sense that Oregon is so low. They were undefeated last year. I think we've got a lot of recency bias. We saw, of course, Ohio State win the national title. Texas had a deep postseason run. Penn State, they've got all the buzz because their quarterback's probably going to be number 1 overall pick. Georgia's Georgia, they get a lot of buzz. Notre Dame, obviously, went to the national title game. Alabama's Alabama, they get a lot of buzz, right? I think you're seeing a lot of recency bias, a lot of shiny new toy fallacy, right? Oh, Oregon, we're hearing Oregon's good so many years. We're not going to give them, we don't think they're a great chance. They're not as good as we think they are because they haven't won a title yet, is basically what this is. Now, there is some weight to that. If I'm going to be totally honest, you have to eventually prove it. And I think that's why Oregon's getting buried here in the rankings and the stats a little bit in the odds here to win the national title, is because they haven't proven, even with talent, that they can win the whole darn thing. But the point, my counterpoint to that is we haven't seen an Oregon team this talented yet. And if you look at circling back to the data, let me go back to another chart here for you guys. This is the 3-year average of that previous chart I showed. And you can see Ohio State on the left, Texas, Georgia, then Oregon. Oregon has a percentage of their commitments being 4 and 5 star, well above 80%. The only team that's even close above 80% is Georgia, and Oregon's better than them. They are leapfrogging. They are dominating the Big Ten. They're beating every team in the SEC. Texas, they're doing great things in recruiting. So is Georgia. Oregon's better, right? And we get so hyper-focused on a specific recruit or a specific month or a specific cycle. But if you look at the following 3-year, the current 3-year cycle, in the prior 2 years, 24 and 25, which will be feeding into this season, Oregon's been better. And another point we like to talk about on this channel is that recruits, the best recruits, they're very good at sniffing out what program is going to be dominant, right? It's a weird correlation. You look at one of the weird things you can find is the teams that are most likely to win national titles or get close often have great recruiting classes that same year. For whatever reason, these high school kids, maybe because they talk to different programs and talk to each other, they can feel the buzz, they can feel the momentum, and they can sense the talent. So Oregon doing good things with the 4 and 5 star commits with the 26 class is, again, yet another positive indicator for this fall. And with all this data, and you look at this, and I go look at the odds here, I honestly don't understand it, because my first glance was, well, new quarterback, that's going to change some things. Ohio State's going to have a new quarterback. Texas has a new quarterback. Georgia has a new quarterback. Notre Dame, Alabama, they all have new quarterbacks. So I don't get that logic. I don't get where these odds come from. It's very, very bizarre to me. I think a lot of it's just media bias. And look, I think I'm not saying there's a gambling man or anything like that, but if you talk about a value play right here, I don't know how you can't pick Oregon. I think a lot of people look at Penn State and it's a shiny new toy. Ohio State's the reigning national champion. I think that's a lot of what's going into this. But again, Oregon, when you just look at the data, and I'll just pull up the last chart again one more time, they're getting more of the best players than anybody else. And if you do that, you win, right? And it's one of those things, if you get a 4-star against a 3-star, right? You can have 4 stars everywhere on the field, right? You can have, 10 of the 11 guys are a 4-star, but if I have 11 of my 11 guys, if 10 out of 11 are 4-star and one's a 3-star, and I have all 11 of my guys are 4-star, I've got one matchup nightmare, I win. Right? That's how it works. Nick Saban proved that at Alabama. We always talk about the greatness of Saban. Great in-game guy, great developer, great motivator, great defensive X's and O's guys, undeniably so. Lanning's a really good developer. He's a great motivator. He's a great X's and O's guys. What's the difference is having this level of talent disparity across the board. That has been resolved with this class here, with the 24 class, with the 25 class. We're seeing the momentum build. Going back to my first chart here, we're seeing Oregon 24, decent, 25, massive bump forward, 26, maintaining that bump. They are trending in the right direction with this underrated metric. This is sort of a leading indicator, guys. If you're looking at evaluating like a stock or a company, this would be an indicator of a buy signal. And by buy, I mean Oregon's a great chance to win a national title. For whatever reason, they're being slept on. I can't go into the reasons why because I don't understand why. This team is too good, too talented across the board. Look, I think they had a lot of guys go to the NFL, some coaching changes, but everybody does. The more I talk about it, it just doesn't make any sense. But when you look at the unbiased data, you see it across the board here. This Oregon squad is clearly one of the best in the country, top 4 at least. And if they should be at least top 4 odds, and in my opinion, again, the data speaks for it. I say it's my opinion, but it's the data, right? It's not me. It's what the numbers are saying. They're better than everybody else. They're going to be more talented than everybody else, and that gives you an advantage, especially when you've got a great coaching staff, great home field advantage. They check every single box, great funding, right? They check every box. This is an Oregon squad. Look, there are a lot of great teams. Texas is going to be a great team. Ohio State's going to be good, right? Georgia's obviously going to be a national championship contending team. By the way, I think Alabama's going to be better than people think, and Marcus Freeman at Notre Dame doing a phenomenal job, undeniably so. But when you look at just the raw data, the raw numbers and quality of player on the roster, I say it all the time. The team that usually wins is the team that usually has better players. 9 times out of 10, that's what happens. And guess what? Oregon's going to be the team with the better players.